Another thing that Tim brings to everyone he meets in almost every situation is fun. And he reminds us of our innocence and our childhoods and our ways of having fun that we put this layer over about, oh, I can't do that because I'm a grown-up now. And it's just, to him, that's just silly, you know? And I agree.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. Welcome to Big Heart Talks with Tim. I am your host, Tim Harris, and I believe everyone deserves to dream big and feel loved. This is the show where we celebrate joy, friendship, dreams, and living life with a big heart. We're here to share stories, inspire hope, and remind you that every life is full of possibility. Let's get started. I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive into today's Big Heart conversation. Oh yeah! I am Tim Harris, and welcome to my Big Heart Talks for Tim's Big Heart Foundation. And I'm sitting next to my executive director and best friend Marissa and my parents.
Thanks, Tim. We're excited to be here. This is our very first episode. Are you excited?
I'm really excited.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
me
yeah.
too. So we are sitting here with Tim's parents today for our very first episode, and we have Keith.
Yes.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank
and
you.
Jeannie, big welcome.
Thank you.
Keith and Jeannie, I'd love to start off our conversation by just having you reflect and share on your first memories of Tim and him being born and being welcomed into your life.
Yeah.
Keith, if you want to start, and then
Sure.
we'll take it to Jeannie.
Sure. Tim's coming up, as we record this, coming up next month on his 40th birthday. And so we've been reflecting a lot about our life in the last few months. And Tim was born in January of 1986. At the time that he was born, we were living in the Philadelphia area. And Tim is the second of our four sons. We had kind of a relaxed evening the night before he was born. Jeannie was in labor. I remember her encouraging me just to kind of relax and get my sleep, that I would need my strength. And by the time she woke me up, labor was pretty far along. And so there was a kind of a little bit of a mad rush to get out to the car and get ourselves to the hospital. And Tim was born surprisingly soon after our arrival at the hospital. Just remember the feelings of such intense joy of just the whole experience of the birth of a child is a true miracle. While the medical team was dealing with Jeannie, the team put newborn baby Tim in my lap. Just remember that moment. It's etched in my memory forever of looking down at that little face and experiencing some very heartfelt fatherly tears of joy. That was my first memory.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jeannie, what was your first memory?
Wow. It's coming back to me now with Keith's description, but I just remember they brought him out and you had a little blue face, like you were somewhat jaundiced and your face was kind of blue, but you were just really calm, like looking up at your dad, looking up at me, and it was a very, very peaceful, happy moment for me.
That's awesome.
Mm.
That's a really beautiful, Mom.
So were you.
Oh, yeah.
And you still are.
Mhm.
A next question that comes up for me in the early years of Tim's life, and I imagine there were a lot of feelings and emotions around, understanding how to raise Tim, and curious about what that felt like for you initially and what those first few years were like.
Yeah. Over the decades, we've met hundreds and hundreds of families from around the world that have had the common experience of having a child born with a significant disability. At the time Tim was born, prenatal testing wasn't as prevalent as it is today. So we were unprepared and unaware on the day Tim was born that he was going to be entering this world as a young man with Down syndrome. And so receiving the news from the medical team was one of those moments that's, unless you've actually been there, it's really hard to describe it. It was like, I sort of describe it to friends sometimes as the feeling of all the air being sucked out of the room. Getting news suddenly that you weren't prepared for is really hard for me, hard for all of us humans. So there was a period for me and for our family where we were kind of in tumbling a bit, I guess, in free fall. The life we were expecting with our newly updated family was, sort of forever changed. And we talked to a lot of parents these days who have very, very young children that have just been born. I can read the look in their eyes of that sudden feeling of despair and loss of hope. I think it's that moment for our family and projecting that experience into the lives of all the people that we're dealing with now. That's really one of our big inspirations. That moment turns out to be one of the inspirations we have now for the work that we're doing with Tim's Big Heart, is finding those parents wherever they live and meeting them where they are in that feeling of despair, using Tim and his life and his example and his story to help those families return to hope, to quickly go from despair to hope. That's sort of the underlying theme, I guess you might say, behind our work. But
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. And
sure.
I remember speaking with you early on and meeting you and meeting Tim and learning more about Tim's journey and your journey as
Yeah.
a parent. And I remember you sharing a story about when the light turned on for you
Yeah.
in seeing Tim and seeing the potential that he has in
Yeah.
this world. So can you tell us a little bit about that moment?
Yeah. It's actually, there's a series of moments, but one that is really etched in my mind, and I know in Jeannie's mind as well, that some days after Tim's birth, when we had finally gotten home from the hospital, our pediatrician had referred us to a parent organization in Philadelphia, a parent-to-parent network. I was still grieving, but somehow found the courage to find that phone number and call them. And they matched us with a family that had a daughter with Down syndrome. And I don't remember her exact age, but I think she was maybe 2 or 3 years old at that time. They paid us a home visit, and we were in the midst of our grief. I remember us being in the place that we lived with all the curtains drawn, and the doorbell rang, and we opened the door, and this family appeared. The little girl with Down syndrome, I don't remember her name at this point, but when the door opened, she just ran straight into the room and ran straight to my lovely wife, Jeannie. I don't know what instinct was propelling her that day, but she ran straight to Jeannie, and she's tiny, but she just hugged Jeannie around the legs and just wouldn't let go. That, I think it was one of the first rays of hope that emerged for us. As that day went on, we talked to the parents. That little girl was playing, same age as our Tim's older brother, Dan. They just played like a couple of toddlers would play. And I remember within myself just realizing that the scene in our place looked pretty normal. And it was sort of like maybe the first glimpse of hope for me that our life would be normal. And it was and is.
It's an absolutely beautiful story.
Yeah,
Thank you so
thanks.
much. Yeah, I remember hearing that for the first time and it just really making an impact on, how much hope there
Yeah.
was for you in that moment
Yeah.
and how now you two and Tim as well get to represent that for other parents
Yeah,
as well.
paying it forward, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Jeannie, how about your earliest memories of Tim's, age 0 to 3 and what a similar story that, Keith told? I'm curious what that moment was for you because it may be different.
I've been thinking a lot about when people ask us, what it was it like and what do you know now? And I look back at that time 40 years ago, and I was thinking about myself in that position And I remember, so Tim was our second son, and 2 years before that, our first son was born, and it was picture perfect. He was picture perfect. 10 toes, 10 fingers, everything was perfect, and he was lovely, and just everything that we ever had dreamed we would have in a son. And when we came around to having another one, I wanted that. I wanted it again. And Keith did a lot of searching while I was in the hospital in a deep, dark place. And he started reading and he started finding out. And he came to me like while I was still in the hospital and said, Jeannie, we can do this. Mm. And I think inside of me was a drive that said, I still want that. I still want everything that I expected to have from my second child. And I got it and more and worked for it. Like, I remember he started going to school at 3 weeks, early intervention. And I started really working and striving just to help him be the best that he could be, to the point where one of the therapists finally pulled me aside and she said, Jeannie, why don't you let me be Tim's therapist? He really needs a mother. And I think that's important for so many parents to hear. But the drive to have a son that was loving, perfect, and loved by me and everyone around us was born from that desire of wanting that for you, Tim.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And there's so much has come from that time and from that wish and that desire. And the things that I learned about raising you went right into helping raise your younger brothers as well. I remember someone saying once, I don't know whether to send you a sympathy card or a congratulations card. And a very wise therapist said to us, you will teach people what they should do. Well, how you show up, Keith, me, how we show up is going to teach our family, our friends, and ultimately our son what to do, how to be, how to step up. And look at where he is. So when I think about it, a message that I have to new parents and other parents is, when you look at your child, what do you want? What do you see? And it's really easy at first to see Down syndrome, but it's beautiful when you get to, I see my son, and I'm going to help him be everything that he can be. No matter what.
I love you.
I love you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, Tim, I was with you a couple of weeks ago and you showed me this photo of you being a little kid. I think you're maybe 2 or 3 years old and you're just reaching out for a hug. And you told me I was born to hug. I came into this world to hug people and love people. Can you tell us about that?
And that actually is true. I was born on National Hugging Day. The best day in the whole world. I was born to hug. I just love to hug the world, no matter what. I learned that from my dad. Because he's the man I gave out my first hug. I remember that.
Tim, I know how much you love your parents and how supportive they've been in helping you to follow your dreams and your goals. Do you remember being a kid and what some of your earliest dreams were and goals that you had for yourself?
Yeah, I wanted to start a restaurant so I can show the world that I can do anything I want to be. It's so awesome.
Can you tell us about your restaurant? What was it called? What did you do there?
I had a restaurant 10 years ago. It was called Tim's Place.
And how did you start every day before you went into the restaurant?
I do this dance of magic. I put on my headphones and start dancing like crazy. But I didn't know I had people outside waiting for the dance magic to happen. It's so awesome.
That is awesome. So people were outside waiting for you.
There are cars like parked in the restaurant, getting ready to see the 10 times more awesome coming onto the street to the restaurant. It's awesome.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It's awesome.
Keith and Jeannie, do you remember the initial vision when Tim shared that he wanted to own a restaurant?
Yeah. Yeah, I have a clear memory of that. Like, people ask where I think that impulse came from. And when our boys were young, we were frequent guests at a lot of restaurants. And everybody loved going out to eat and that whole experience. And Tim kind of found his own groove in that. Like, when he was old enough to get up and like go use the restroom on his own, sometimes we would notice that he hadn't come back to the table. And we're looking around to see where he is. And he would be 3 tables away. He'd stop to introduce himself and talk to some people. And he was sort of like spontaneously adding joy to other diners. It was this kind of like part of his nature. This is like maybe 8 years old or 10 years old. So I guess it's not a real big stretch of the imagination that would be something that really, really spoke to him. And he had a job in high school as a host in a restaurant. And I think that's where we really kind of got the idea of sort of the magic of the intersection of restaurants and food and Tim, like what happens when you put those 3 ingredients together. And so that's where it all came from.
That's amazing. Tim, can you share with us why you wanted to open a restaurant?
I wanted to open a restaurant so I can make everyone feel welcomed and loved when they come from my front door.
Tell us about how you shared hugs in your restaurant.
I wanted to share my hugs in the restaurant so I can make people feel happy and loved. They were on the menu. People can order a Tim hug from me.
That's awesome.
That's the best part of the menu. Food is food.
Do you remember how many hugs you've given?
I don't remember anymore.
I think when the restaurant closed, the official count was over 75,000 officially counted hugs in the restaurant. But obviously there were tens of thousands more than that weren't counted. But
that's a lot of hugs, Tim. That's awesome.
I had some friends at the end of the day, they'll help me add my hugs to my counter.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
what a good friend.
I always had a hug clicker to add the hugs. And I added the hug from President Obama when he was president.
Wow. That's
awesome
cool.
Right there.
That's very cool. So owning a restaurant is a big dream. It's a big dream. A lot of people have similar dreams. And Jeannie, I'd love to hear from your perspective. What was it like for you when you first heard this dream? And how did you support Tim initially to actually make this happen?
I guess I'd like to go back a little bit further because we would go to an annual conference every year. And one day, it was just Keith and I sitting there, and there was a young man who had gone through all the inclusive programs at his school, and he had actually gone on to go to college. And he was kind of saying to the group, something has to come after that and he pointed around the room to all the waiters and bus staff in this conference and saying, and I can't even get their job. And I think at that point, Keith, who is an entrepreneur, also decided that we weren't going to wait for the world to offer Tim a well-paying job, that Tim had already expressed a wish to be in business for himself. And it was at that moment when Keith decided, yep, we're going to figure out how to make that happen. And then when Tim said he wanted to go in the restaurant business, we were like, oh my gosh, that is so perfect. He loves people and he loves food. So
I do love food, but people are more important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And the hugs are awesome too. It's awesome.
Yeah, you're a professional hugger.
And now an author of a book now called The Book of Hugs. That's written by me, by Tim Harris. It's amazing.
Keith and Jeannie, when you reflect on Tim's journey into adulthood. He'll be
Mhm.
40 next month, which is very exciting. Um, what do you feel were the essential components of really showing Tim that you believed in his dreams? I think as parents listen to this episode or future parents, it can be hard sometimes to hear a child's dream and to be an adult and think through all of the logistics and all the
Right,
things that need to
right,
happen to make a
right,
dream possible.
right.
What do you feel like you both were able to do throughout that process to really make this come to life for him?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think for me, it was the ability to kind of like overcome any preconceived notions that I'd been carrying or things that I'd read about or heard from other people that would be in the category of limitations. And early on with Tim, as I saw him, blow through expectation limits like one after another, like just knocking them down like bowling pins. Um, when he got into his teen years and was like really starting to imagine what his future might look like, it was just super easy for me to get behind that. And so that's advice I would have, almost like nurturing a plant. Give those dreams water and proper soil, and sky's the limit.
Mm, thank you. Jeannie, how about for you?
Well, and we also came to the realization that anyone can work towards and achieve their dreams, and they don't do it alone. And Tim did not have to do this alone and still could have his dreams. One of my favorite stories from the restaurant was, there's sometimes trolls on the internet, and someone was like, "Oh yeah, he doesn't do the books, or he doesn't do all this stuff as manager of this restaurant that like a normal manager would do." And we never had to defend him on the internet because there was always 20 people that would write back. And the message there is that he was able to do what he could do, and he had a team of people around him helping him. And I think that's such an important message for parents. It's like, support them in the ways that they can do what they can do, and also give them assistance for the things that they can't, and they still can achieve their dreams.
Absolutely. And, any business owner doesn't do it all. They shouldn't
Right,
do it all,
Right,
right?
right.
That's not sustainable. And
Right.
I think it's probably comes from you, Keith, and owning your own companies. And I know, Jeannie, you were a part of that from the beginning as well, and knowing that we'll find the right people, we'll find the right resources, and we can make this happen. But I think that goes back to
Yeah.
Keith, you two sharing that there are limitations sometimes, but it's the willingness to overcome those.
That's right. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if there were any times in Tim's life when he had a goal or a dream or an ambition, could be big or small, that you felt like there were obstacles that needed to be faced and challenges to overcome. And I'm curious what that was like for you as a parent.
Yeah. I think for any parent with any child, there are obstacles that are in the way of a family, of their progress. I think back to the pretty early formative years, when Tim was just school age, the school system wasn't set up in such a way that Tim was going to be welcomed into his home school where his brothers went. That at that time, our district had sort of a network of schools that worked with kids with disabilities. Very thoughtful, but Tim was friends with the kids in the neighborhood and his brothers, and he wanted to go to the same school. Like, I don't want to go somewhere else, right? Why does that have to be me? And so we were able to like lobby, I guess you might say, but in kind of a unique way. We're believers in that sometimes you can get a lot more with sugar than you can with a stick, right? Those were the early days of us figuring out how to work with a system, right? To kind of open doors and make things happen. And so it turned out that Tim wound up being the first ever student with Down syndrome at our home elementary school. Just watching the magic that occurred just based on that seemingly simple decision, the effect that it had on the other children, their parents, the teachers, the administration. Like it just, it opened a lot of things.
Yeah. Thank you. Jeannie.
I guess I would probably, when I think about some of the challenges that Tim has had, some of them were created by us. And I think it's an important message to people that when you have a son or a daughter that has special needs, love that, awesome abilities, right, Tim?
Oh, yeah.
I think one thing that happened that I was guilty of was of doing too much for him that he could have done for himself.
Mhm.
And throughout his adulthood, he's had to overcome some of that, as well as really, truly being an advocate for himself, saying, no, I can do this. You don't need to do this. That's been part of all of our growth as far as overcoming those challenges, some that we created by doing too much, speaking for him too much when he could speak for himself, maybe giving him a little too much attention at times. And so there's always a challenge of kind of a me-centered world that he's had to overcome and had to learn how to not just talk, for instance, about what's happening with him and what's going on with him, but to ask other people, so how are you? What do you do? And those were challenges that he has definitely overcome. Tim, you have grown so much. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, Mom. That means a lot. Oh, yeah.
So, Tim, you live on your own. You have your own home. We're sitting in your house right now in your brand new podcast studio. And I imagine that you got here because you learned a lot of things and your parents taught you how to be independent. Do you remember anything that you learned along the way that helped you to get here and to live so independently?
My parents helped me to stand up for myself
Mm-hmm.
and to not let anybody get to me.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
that's important.
Oh, yeah.
Tim, you're such a joyful person to be around and you have such a positive outlook on life. Do you wake up in the morning and set your day in any way, or do you just wake up happy every day?
I wake up kind of groggy in the morning sometimes or grumpy.
Mhm.
But when I drink my coffee, I feel a lot better.
It's one thing we all have in common.
We
Our
do.
coffee makes us feel better.
Much better.
Oh, yeah.
Common human experience.
And to eat a banana to help me calm my nerves, yeah.
You do like bananas.
Oh, yeah.
I have learned that about you.
Oh, yeah.
Tim, you travel all over the world. You speak professionally. You're a motivational speaker. You have an incredible speech called The 7 Steps to Living an Awesome Life. Do you
It's
like
awesome.
to travel? Do you like to speak? Tell us a little bit about that.
I love traveling a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me feel like I'm part of everybody. It's really fun, especially when I am the big secret now. Come into the conference room, dancing to the song "Happy" by Pharrell.
That's a good song.
One of my favorite songs in the whole world. But I would mix them up with the songs by Andy Grammer called "Joy." Awesome. I got to know him. I got to meet him too. He's cool.
Keith and Jeannie, do you remember Tim's first interest in wanting to speak publicly and what that looked like and how you were a part of his story from the beginning and creating his speech and his signature talk?
When Tim had his restaurant, the story, of a person with Down syndrome actually owning and operating their own restaurant became kind of a viral media sensation globally. And during those restaurant years, groups started reaching out to us and asked if Tim could come and share his story. So I think that was sort of the main origin of it. And at the beginning, it was local groups here in Albuquerque that wanted Tim to come and speak at their luncheon and things like that. Little by little, that just sort of developed and blossomed kind of organically. And before too long, he was being hired by universities, by major corporations, groups in a wide variety of countries. So he really emerged for a number of years as a amazing, inspirational, and motivational speaker for corporate conferences and all manner of groups. All manner of groups. It was really, really fun to be part of that.
I have to tell you, I was sitting there when he was giving one of his first major speeches. And I can still picture him and his dad sitting next to each other at the computer, and they're going, okay, what do we want to tell these people? And just these stories started coming out, and Tim would think of something and they'd put it down, and Keith would help him write it and sort it and put it into an order. And then Keith would go, what about this? Or should we tell him that? And every time we hit on something that Tim really liked and really wanted to share, he'd go, oh, yeah. So now you know the origin of, oh, yeah, because all of a sudden Keith said, that's got to go in the speech. That's got to go in the speech. And so every time Tim said, oh, yeah, Keith would put it at the end of a sentence, and the oh, yeah began. Mm-hmm. And the oh, yeah comes from this place of, yes, I want people to know this about me and share this with the world. Right, Tim? Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. And now it's now my famous trademark. Now
it
that
is.
line is.
I saw it start.
The famous Tim Harris one line.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. It's awesome.
And he gets all the crowds at his speeches saying it with him.
Mm-hmm.
So. Tim, how do you feel when you get on stage?
Oh, I feel excited. I like different kind of stages too. And I remember one of my events with my book, my best friend Ashton brought me out to Farmington to speak to their kids for their school. They all wanted to meet me. We brought a bunch of books for them to have, and I signed a bunch. They were very, very excited. Oh, yeah. It's awesome, yeah.
So, Tim, how long have you been a Special Olympics athlete?
I've been a Special Olympics athlete for over 26 years.
Wow.
I've been an all-time athlete. I'm one of the favorite athletes of Randy. She's the executive director of Special Olympics, and I knew her since the first day when I started. And a lot of things opened up. And this year, I got selected to compete in the Special Olympics National USA Games. I am one of 4 athletes competing in those games in Minnesota. Cannot wait to kick some butt and bring back maybe a gold.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's so cool. It's so cool. I get to represent the state and my hometown with all my friends.
That is so exciting.
Yeah, our team name is Team New Mexico with Coach Chris.
I can't wait to see that gold medal.
Yeah, and Coach Chris was my Special Olympics coach many years ago.
And what sports are you playing in the USA Games?
I'm doing the track and field.
Very cool.
I'm doing the 100, the shot put, and the relays.
And can you tell us about how much you love running?
Oh yeah, I like to run great distances, running on trails. I have a friend named Adam Trubo. He invited me to pace him in the Leadville Trail 100 trail race. Last year, I paced him for 6 miles. This year, I helped pace him for 9 miles.
Wow.
It's awesome.
Tim, you've inspired me so much in my running journey, and on a random Thursday night, I'll get a message from you and your stat on Strava that you just ran 10 miles, and it's the most inspiring thing in the world. So,
And the most inspiring thing that ever happened this year, Adam raised over $86,000 for our Special Olympics of New Mexico so we can keep getting all those awesome equipment so we can still keep competing in those games. Those are awesome games. So fun.
So fun. Keith and Jeannie, do you remember Tim's initial thoughts around wanting to be an athlete and what sports he started in and what the journey was like to get to running, which I think you're most passionate about now, Tim, but I know there's been many other sports before that.
Yeah. His first entry into Special Olympics was during the season of golf. And so when he was 13, he joined one of the local delegations as a golfer. And interestingly, I hadn't really understood that before he joined, but in Special Olympics New Mexico, golf is what they call a unified sport, where a golf team is made up of 2 individuals, one with a disability and one without. And so Tim asked me to be his partner in Special Olympics golf. So in Tim's first season of competing as a golfer, I also competed. And it was something extraordinary for me as well. I'm a lifelong golfer and wound up actually winning my own medal next to Tim.
Gold.
And,
That was very
gold medal.
special
Yeah,
for me.
yeah.
That was very special for me. We
Yeah.
got to win a gold medal, father and son.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was so fun. And also facing fears by having you with me. Thank you for facing your fears with me.
You're welcome.
Because I felt that mama buried me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's all right there.
Tim, what were some other fears that you've had along the way with all these amazing dreams you've accomplished? You're an athlete, you're a speaker, you get on stages in front of hundreds of people, you travel around the world, you compete, you just ran 9 miles in
Oh, yeah.
the Colorado Rockies. What fears have come up for
I
you?
just have no fear.
You're fearless.
I'm fearless. Yeah.
When you do feel fear or you feel emotional, what helps you to get through that?
I come to you and Nikki.
Yeah, you have your
And
friends.
to help me to make sure that I am okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I did earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
I was shaking like crazy,
Mm-hmm.
but you calmed me down by holding my hand.
Mm-hmm.
I love you, Marissa.
I love you too, Tim.
You're the best part of my team.
Yeah.
That's right.
You have a great team.
Great team.
Oh,
right
yeah.
there. Oh, yeah.
I think fears are a part of the human experience, right? Like all of us experience fear. And I think it's really cool to see you when you experience fear to say, I'm shaking. Can you hold my hand? Or I need a hug. And I've seen you do that time and time again. And it's really brave.
Yep. And there's a special song to go with that when I hold people's hand. When I'm going for that tough time, it's called I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles.
Well, I'd love to hear you sing that for us one day.
That's one of my favorite songs in the
That's
whole
a
world.
beautiful song. Jeannie, do you remember Tim being a young athlete and what that felt like for you?
I do. And it was really interesting because when he started competing in other sports, it was interesting because you weren't really all that competitive, Tim. You just loved to go play. You loved being part of a team. You loved being just with everybody and practicing and you were the biggest cheerleader of everybody on your team.
That's awesome.
I've watched you over the years become more competitive, where it's like you want to do your best to win. You don't cry when you don't get gold. You are not like that, but you do your best and you support the other people on your team in a way that is just inspiring. And I've loved watching that come out in you. And I think that Special Olympics has taught you how to be on a team, but you've also stepped up and have learned how to be a leader.
It's awesome too. And I'm teaching people how to be nice. Being a leader too, that's what I call great sportsmanship. That's what Special Olympics is all about.
Yeah. And what you're about.
Absolutely.
We have a Special Olympics motto that we always do at events. It's really cool. It's about being brave in the attempt. I don't have fear, but I'm also brave.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
And Special Olympics gave him that opportunity to be able to really go in and compete at his level. They're really good at finding where somebody's level is and then matching them with people that they can actually really compete and learn from and achieve and grow. And it's really been a big part of his life.
It's awesome. I'm really good at basketball. I can be like LeBron James right now. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's awesome there. Oh, yeah.
Tim, when you think of all the goals that you've accomplished in your life, all the things you've done, you've written a book, you get to travel, you play guitar, you're an athlete, you're an amazing friend, you're an awesome uncle. What are you most proud of in your life?
I am most proud of my lifelong best friends and my team sitting next to me right now. The best team ever.
Can you tell us a little bit about your work now as the founding father of Tim's Big Heart Foundation?
My work has been really fun. Going to Grenada and Jamaica with the team and inspiring families around the world on those islands for the future of their kids. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Keith and Jeannie, when you think back on Tim's life, what are you most proud of and what you've seen him overcome and accomplish in all those years?
Gosh, so many specific things, but I think for me, the big picture of it all is what's been over these 40 years, what's really been growing inside of me when I think of Tim and who he is that right in my own family is what I would consider to be an exquisite version of a human being and of the human potential. I think about this all the time, about what an example Tim sets for me and for so many other people. I think if you distilled it down to something really simple, it's like Tim carries with him the ability to automatically extend love and trust to humanity. The rest of us, I think, struggle with that we have somehow, through hard knocks that we've experienced in our life, we withhold unconditional love and trust. It's a barter system. We demand that other people earn that from us. It's a slow, painful, and awkward process. And I watched him instinctively show up in a new situation, a brand new person he's never met, man, woman, child, old, young, rich, poor, doesn't matter. And his instinct is to love that person and to trust that person. And I want that for myself. So I am a student of my son, Tim Harris. And if I live long enough, maybe I'll be half as good as him.
Thank you, Keith.
Yeah.
Jeannie?
Yeah, I think a couple of things come up that I could add to that. Is I found Tim with his lack of fear and his ability to meet people where I wanted to say where they're at, but he meets people where he's at, and he brings them into his world, and he's become a bridge for people with disabilities who don't have the same voice that he has, the same ability as he has. And I think he's a bridge for people to help understand that he's a very kind and loving and generous man and a good friend. That's one part. Another thing that Tim brings to everyone he meets in almost every situation is fun. And he reminds us of our innocence and our childhoods and our ways of having fun, that we put this layer over about, oh, I can't do that because I'm a grown up now. And it's just, to him, that's just silly, you know? And I agree.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
You're so right, Tim.
Oh, yeah, Mom.
Oh, yeah. It's a big year. What hopes and dreams and new goals do you have for yourself in the years ahead?
My biggest dream right now is to find a wife.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So, Tim, you're just starting this podcast, and we're hoping to reach a lot of people. And I'm just curious, what do you want people to get from this podcast?
I want people to feel happy
That's beautiful.
and awesome.
Well, I think you can bring it.
I can always bring it. Oh, yeah. It's awesome there.
Yep.
That's right.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
So, Tim, what are some of the big hopes and dreams that you have for the next few years of your life?
My goals is to keep a healthy lifestyle going so I can be fit and a lean, mean fighting machine and to live my best life. And I want to thank Nikki for helping me to get there.
And tell us a little bit about Nikki. Who is Nikki in your life?
Nikki is more like not just my life coach, my business partner. She's also a best friend.
And Tim, what advice do you have for our listeners who might have their own big hopes and dreams?
I want them to follow their dreams, and I want them to be confident and brave too. Hey, listeners, thank you for listening to my podcast. And I want you to go out there in the world to give a hug out today. I believe that hugs are the best medicine to heal the world.
Oh, yeah!
Thank you for listening to Big Heart Talks with Tim. I hope today's conversation brought you joy and hope. And guess what? I'm also a motivational speaker. I love to come speak in your community. Just visit our website, timsbigheart.org, to learn how to book a speaking engagement with me. Let's stay connected on Instagram at Tim's Big Heart. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend and leave us with a review to help us spread more joy and love. Remember, keep dreaming big like me. Keep being kind and keep living with a big heart. See you next time. Oh yeah!